Hello and welcome back to the Cars.co.za Weekly News. I'm David Taylor, and in this week's episode, the brand new, eagerly anticipated Mazda CX-5. Just how well are the Chinese cars doing in South Africa? Plus, how much are you paying in new car taxes? But before we get into this week's episode, as a reminder, Cars.co.za, we're not just a really cool content platform, we also have over 75,000 vehicles for sale, plus a number of really awesome buying tools to make your car purchase journey that much simpler. Let's go. Cars.co.za. Right, on your screen now, finally, the brand new Mazda CX-5. Jeepers, that thing has been around forever. I think the last time we saw a Mazda CX-5, the Dead Sea was still actually sick. But cheesy jokes aside, this is a very important model for Mazda. Both here and internationally, the CX-5 is Mazda's best seller. And there was so much to like. There was a great driving experience. That build quality was so spot on. And for most derivatives, there was quite a lot of value for money on offer. But time is the enemy, and while Mazda CX-5 has been soldiering on, a lot of its rivals have either been facelifted or replaced, and then of course there's the Chinese SUV question. So Mazda's been sitting there going, okay guys, we need to update this car. And it's finally arrived. Design-wise, I mean, look at it. Of course it is in Mazda's traditional soul red color. I mean, I think this is a phenomenal color. It's actually quite blinding in bright sunlight. I'll probably get sunburnt off it. But the styling, let's talk about specifics. I'd say it's not really dramatic. It's not really over the top. And for me, this is not a criticism. You want a conservative brand like Mazda to play to its strength. It's a middle of the road brand and it's aiming for the average consumer like you and I. But technical specifics. This is the third generation CX-5. And if I look at the tech data, it's grown in size, length, width, height, all bigger, and Mazda says the boot has now grown by 61 liters. The cabin has again got that minimalist experience, but interestingly, Mazda has said, okay, fine, we'll eventually cave, and they've introduced a massive touchscreen. I see there's a 12.9 inch and the highest spec models get a 15.6 inch screen. I mean, everyone's going for these big touchscreens and Mazda's eventually folded and said, fine, we'll follow this trend as well. In terms of engines, and there's good news and bad news. Now, if you were hoping for massive turbo hybrid, that's not going to be the case because it looks like the 2.5 four-cylinder engine has been upgraded with 48 volt mild hybrid tech, outputs of 104 kilowatts and 238 newton meters, and that's naturally aspirated. You know, Mazdas, they don't really do turbos that much. It's only in the United States you get the turbo motor. But there will be non-electrified versions of this engine, and I've always maintained this is a good one. 132 kilowatts, 242 newtons, you can get front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and this should be more than adequate. But importantly, you're now going, ooh, Mazda CX-5, how soon are we going to see this in South Africa? Now, we've got good insider information, and our intel suggests that we'll see the brand new CX-5 on our shores April 2026. On to the next story, and our data specialist Ryan has been busy with his spreadsheets. I guess you can say he excelled himself, and he's crunched all the numbers for the Chinese brands. How many Chinese vehicles were sold in South Africa for the first half of 2025? Of course, there's some caveats with data, and I'd like to point these out now. So these are passenger car sales from NAAMSA. So passenger cars, that's your sedans, your hatchbacks. This is not bakkies. So things like your P300 from GWM and so on, the JAC and that, they're all excluded from this conversation. Secondly, there are brands that don't report to NAAMSA, and those are GAC, MG, and BYD. So all those sales, they don't fall into this bracket for evaluation and numbers. And here are the top 5, and I'll put the rest in the link in the description below, but these are serious volumes. People are buying cars. So what is the number 1 best-selling Chinese vehicle in South Africa for the first half of 2025? And that honor belongs to the Chery Tiggo 4 Pro with the Haval Jolion right behind it. Taking third place is the Omoda C5 with the Chery Tiggo 7 Pro in fourth, and in fifth place, the Jetour Dashing. But for me, look at those numbers. Those are serious volumes. That's a lot of cars. And what's really scary is that there's more products and more brands lined up in the next 18 months. So we're only going to see unrelenting growth. Finally, onto our last story for the week. And like you, we've also been wondering why cars have become so expensive. New cars, that is. And there's so many factors at play here. I mean, we've looked at rising production costs, shipping has gone up, the exchange rates and so on. But we did another journalism and looked at the taxes and duties and how much of a role they play in the price of a new car. I'll link the article in the description. There's some very interesting high school maths involved, but it's incredible how much it all adds up. VAT, import duties, ad valorem luxury tax, carbon tax. And this week I also learned that there was a tire tax and you pay tax on the weight of a tire. Really? Okay, this is it then. But of course I can talk all day, but we need a real example. So I use this one, something imported from a brand that's not European and doesn't have a local production facility in South Africa. Let's take something like the Mazda 3 hatch. That costs just over 500,000 Rand retail on the showroom floor. But once you factored in everything like calculations, tax, everything, you're looking at tax on this car to be just over 330,000 Rand. That's more than half the car, and that's starting to feel a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. So in the article, you'll see a whole bunch of calculations and you can work out how much tax is going into a new car purchase. And yes, I know it's cool and fashionable to say, oh no, BMW, Audi, Merc, whatever brand needs to drop their prices. But when you factor in the new car price taxes and you think about the margins, some of these brands are barely making money, and that's quite frightening. Now, before I sign off for this week, I would just like to point out this is episode number 50 of the Cars.co.za weekly news. What started out as a content experiment has turned into something really awesome. We record on Mondays, we upload on Tuesdays, and I want to take a moment to say a big thank you to you for the likes, the comments, the shares, and it's really, really grown into something that I enjoy doing. I don't miss Mondays for this very reason. So I appreciate you. Episode 50 in the bag. And as always, I will link all the information you need on today's content in the description below. And remember, Cars.co.za, we're not just a content platform, we also have over 75,000 vehicles for sale. Plus, we also have some great tools to aid you in your car buying journey. I will see you next week for episode 51. Okay, bye.
Let's find what moves you. Cars.co.za.
Scrolling through listings trying to figure out what's a good deal can feel like searching for treasure without a map. That's why Cars.co.za is introducing Badges, a smart new way to help you find the gems fast. Now, when you browse cars on our site, you'll start seeing handy little tags next to the listings. We call these badges. Each badge tells you something important at a glance. Is the price great, good, or fair? Has the price recently dropped? Is it a fast seller you should act on quickly? It's all about cutting through the noise and helping you buy with confidence. Look out for the badges on your next search, and let's help you find the right car at the right price with no second guessing. You're welcome.